He shot awake in a panic. The second he glanced down, a terrified scream burst out of him. His real legs were gone, replaced by massive mechanical limbs fused to his body. Fear instantly turned into rage. He slammed the door with such force that it exploded open, then sprinted out into the street. The people outside immediately aimed their guns at him, but in that exact moment, he felt a powerful surge racing through his new legs. Within seconds, he crossed hundreds of yards. He was moving so insanely fast that even bullets failed to keep up with him. His name was Nick. Just days earlier, he had been a student at Massachusetts Institute of Technology. He was at the top of his class and an elite hacker. From astronomy to geography, there was almost nothing he didn't know. But ever since childhood, he had suffered from a condition in his legs that forced him to walk with crutches. That day, he was on a road trip with his girlfriend Haley and his friend Jonah. They were helping Haley move her stuff. Then, later that evening, Nick received a message from an anonymous hacker. They had been battling each other online for a long time, but this time the hacker had broken into Haley's laptop and was tracking everything she did. Nick immediately started tracing the hacker's location. Jonah suggested they track the hacker down and finally make him pay for everything, but Nick was already in a terrible mood. Deep down, he believed Haley wanted to leave him because of his disability, and this entire trip was only an excuse to break up with him. Furious, he decided he would find the hacker no matter what. As they drove, the hacker kept taunting them by sending photos of their car captured through traffic cameras. Eventually, the GPS led them to a lonely cabin in the middle of nowhere. Nick and Jonah went inside and began searching the place while recording everything they saw. Then suddenly, Haley screamed from outside. The instant Nick rushed out, he saw her floating into the air. A split second later, a blinding white light flashed directly into his face, and everything went black. Nobody knew how much time had passed after that. When Nick finally opened his eyes, he was sitting in a wheelchair, and his entire body felt completely numb. A man in a hazmat suit sat across from him. His name was Pace. He told Nick he was there to help recover his memories. Pace explained that they had come into contact with alien life forms and may have been infected. For days, doctors kept questioning him, but Nick couldn't understand what was really happening there. He kept asking about Jonah and Haley, but nobody would tell him anything. Then, one morning, while they were taking him to another examination, he suddenly spotted Haley lying unconscious on a bed inside one of the rooms. He tried desperately to get to her, but they refused to let him near her. Later, after returning to his room, Nick suddenly heard Jonah's voice coming from another room nearby. He called out to him and said, "I saw Haley today, but they wouldn't let me talk to her, and I still can't feel my legs." Jonah told him they had forced him to drink something strange, and ever since then, his heart hadn't felt normal. That's when the two of them decided they would share every piece of information they discovered about the place. After that, Nick began paying attention to everything around him. He carefully memorized which codes unlocked certain doors, which rooms opened at specific times, and which staff members were allowed to speak with them. Soon, the doctors called Nick in for another test. They placed several objects with different shapes in front of him and tried measuring how he reacted to shapes and colors. But Nick refused to cooperate. He told them, "Until you let me see Haley, I'm not answering anything." With no other option, the doctors finally took him to Haley's room, but it changed nothing. She was still trapped in a coma. Nick returned to his room and started telling Jonah everything that had happened. But suddenly, Jonah's voice went silent from the other side. At the same time, strange experiments were also being performed on a cow somewhere inside the facility. Then, all at once, the power went out and somebody escaped from the building. Nick immediately ran and hid inside a dark bathroom. Moments later, When the lights finally came back on, two men grabbed him and dragged him back outside. Nick notices deep, claw-like marks carved into the walls. After seeing this, he goes to the doctor and demands to know where Jonah is. But the doctor calmly tells him that Jonah was never brought there in the first place. Nick immediately says that's impossible. He talked to him himself. The doctor refuses to respond any further. Now, when Nick returns to his room, he keeps calling out for Jonah and tries speaking to him again. But this time, there is no answer coming from the other side. That's when Nick realizes the truth. Jonah has escaped from the facility. Because of this, Nick decides that he is going to escape with Haley no matter what happens. During all those days trapped there, Nick had secretly memorized every hallway and written down every security code that could help him get out. Finally, he puts his plan into action and escapes with Haley. But just as they reach the final exit door, the doctor suddenly appears and stops him. Seconds later, Nick loses consciousness once again. When he wakes up, he finds himself lying on a bed right beside Haley. Before he can even touch her, one of the staff members grabs his arm. Haley slips unconscious again. Furious, Nick starts fighting the staff, and during the struggle, he falls off the bed onto the floor. That's when the staff suddenly panics and runs out of the room. Nick looks down and realizes the horrifying truth. His real legs have been amputated and replaced with robotic ones, but now, for the first time in his life, he can actually walk. The mechanical legs are unbelievably powerful. Using their strength, he smashes the door apart and forces his way out. Anyone who gets in front of him is attacked as he pushes forward. Allie is with him as well. While they are descending in an elevator, the doctor approaches Nick one last time and warns him. He says that if he leaves the facility, the aliens outside will become a threat to him, and he should stay there instead. But Nick refuses to listen. After passing through a massive underground tunnel, they finally escape from the facility. The moment they step outside, Haley regains consciousness too. The two of them look around and realize they're standing in the middle of a barren wasteland with nothing visible for miles in any direction. Eventually, they make it to a road where a car pulls up beside them. They ask the driver for a ride. Inside the car is an elderly woman, and she agrees to help them. But after driving for a while, the woman starts saying strange and disturbing things. Then suddenly, she stops the car in the middle of the road and bursts into loud, terrifying laughter. Nick and Haley get scared and quickly get out of the car. Nearby, they spot a gas station, so Nick takes Haley there. He helps her sit inside a parked truck while he tries using the station phone to call home. But the phone is dead. Then he suddenly notices something horrifying. The truck where he left Haley has started driving away, and Haley is still inside it. Without wasting a second, he starts chasing after the truck. The shocking part is how unbelievably fast he can run because of his robotic legs. Just as he gets close enough to reach the truck, the driver swings the door open and knocks him violently to the ground. But Nick refuses to give up. No matter what happens, he is determined to bring Haley back. So once again, he starts chasing the truck. Even though the vehicle is speeding down the highway at full speed, Nick manages to catch up using his new robotic legs. Meanwhile, inside the truck, Haley discovers a gun. She immediately points it at the driver. Moments later, the two of them throw the driver out and escape in the truck themselves. After driving for a very long time, they eventually reach a dead end where the road simply stops. With nowhere else to go, they are forced to turn around. But after driving back for some time, Nick realizes something disturbing. They are somehow back on the exact same road again. At that moment, they notice a visitor center nearby. When they go inside, they discover a map of the entire area. That's when they learn the horrifying truth. There is only one road in the entire region. Nick cannot make sense of any of it, and meanwhile, Haley's condition keeps getting worse. With no other choice left, the two of them decide to stay there for the night. But later that night, the doctor's men suddenly arrive at the visitor center. Nick and Haley immediately begin hiding from them. While hiding inside the visitor center, they suddenly discover that Jonah is there too. The same Jonah who had escaped from the facility earlier. But now, his hands have been completely transformed. Just like Nick has robotic legs, Jonah has been given robotic arms. That explains the deep marks Nick had seen carved into the walls earlier when Jonah escaped. Nick also notices that the exact same number written on his own arm is marked on Haley's neck as well. Jonah then says, "If you add these numbers together, the total comes to 51. That means we're in Area 51. Scientists perform secret experiments here, and now they're experimenting on us too. That's why your legs and my arms were replaced. To them, we're nothing but lab rats." The next morning, after the doctor's men finally leave the area, the three of them continue escaping in the truck. After driving for some time, they spot a checkpoint up ahead. They try forcing the truck through it, but the military activates a massive barrier system that traps the vehicle in place. Jonah immediately jumps out of the truck and rushes into the control room where the laptop is located. But before he can disable the barrier, a bullet strikes his glasses, blurring his vision instantly. Now he can no longer see properly. With no other option left, Jonah runs back outside. Then, using the unbelievable strength of his robotic arms, he smashes the massive barrier apart with pure force. Nick and Haley manage to escape through the checkpoint, but Jonah stays behind. By then, he has already been hit by several bullets. Watching Jonah sacrifice himself leaves both Nick and Haley in tears. They continue driving non-stop until eventually they arrive at a gigantic bridge. But standing directly in the center of the bridge is the doctor. Before their truck can even reach him, the doctor's men throw sharp devices onto the road, instantly blowing out the truck's tires and causing the entire vehicle to flip over violently. Haley is badly injured in the crash and loses consciousness. At that exact moment, a helicopter arrives and takes Haley away. Nick is seriously wounded too, but somehow he forces himself back onto his feet. That's when he notices the name tag on the doctor's uniform. It says Damon, and the moment Nick reads the name backward, he realizes it spells nomad, the same mysterious hacker who had been sending them those strange messages online. The same hacker who broke into their college servers and framed Nick and Jonah for everything. Now the doctor finally admits the truth himself. He says, "Yes, I hacked your college servers and pinned everything on you and your friend. We hacked Haley's system too and sent you messages through her account. We pushed you toward us because we wanted you to come here. Everything that happened to your friends is your fault." Then, the doctor reveals the horrifying truth. He says, "We use alien technology on human beings. Out of everyone we've experimented on so far, you are our greatest success. Your body and brain fully adapted to the robotic legs. That makes you our most successful subject." Hearing this fills Nick with rage. Using the full power of his robotic legs, he starts sprinting toward the bridge at unbelievable speed. Faster and faster he runs until suddenly he slams directly into an invisible wall, but the impact launches him through to the other side. When Nick turns around, he sees the doctor standing there. Then the doctor removes his helmet, and Nick finally realizes the terrifying truth. He is not human at all. He is actually a robotic alien. Nick slowly looks ahead and sees outer space itself stretched out before him. That's when he understands everything. He is no longer on Earth. He is inside an alien spaceship. The ship's identification number is 23541, the exact same number marked on his arm and on Haley's shoulder, which means this was never Area 51 at all. It is an alien spacecraft controlled by robotic extraterrestrials, and they have been using humans to test their advanced technology.
Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on notifications, and leave a like to support the channel. Thank you for watching.